and welcome to another edition of Inspire. We have Elyse Schroeder with us today. Hi, Elyse.
Hi.
So glad that you could join us today from Wisconsin. You started your business in 2017 and you thought about it for a few months before you actually joined. Is that right?
Yeah, it was actually 6 months of me not feeling confident and not sure, like believing in myself. But my upline just kept believing in me. Like I didn't. And she just, every time I purchased, at every single purchase, just like Joni says to do, she would offer the opportunity. And it's actually kind of a funny story. One day I was watching her do a live sale and I was like watching all the claiming in the comments and I was like, wait,
Doing the
I
math.
could do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I actually commented right there in her live sale, okay, I'm ready. And I think she almost fell off her chair because I had been played so hard to get for so long. Um, but it's like the power of no might just mean not right now, because that's what it meant for me.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good message for anybody that's watching, that it's really truly about the timing of your life. So when
Yeah.
you first met her, you had a brand new baby and a 1 year old at the time, probably, right? 13
Yes.
months old. So
Yep.
by the time the 6 months rolled around, the baby's 6 months, you're getting into a new cadence. So what did the business do for you at that time in your life? Because you were a teacher prior to having children, right?
Yeah, so I was a fifth grade teacher for 6 years and I loved that job. And shout out to all the teachers fighting the good fight in the classroom every day. Um, but I really wanted to stay home. And I really thought I was going to be very fulfilled in that role. And while I am so glad that I got to do that, um, I realized that I loved solving problems and I loved being a high achiever. Like I'm a type 3 Enneagram. That's the way my brain's wired. And so I loved that and I was missing that. But when I originally when my upline was asking me to sign up, I was actually struggling with pretty severe postpartum depression and anxiety. And I was really hiding behind the scenes and struggling without anybody knowing. And so when she would ask me, would think, there's no way, there's no way. And I decided to do it anyway because we were living in Chicago at the time. It was expensive. We had two little babies, like you said. And I was like, I can find a way to make some extra money and do this at home. But my husband always says, and I have told this story, I'm sorry if you guys have heard this a million times, but I'll never forget. I was sitting in my little office, which was in a closet. Like it was literally like a closet with a drape. And I was sitting there and my husband goes, you look really like this, huh? And I was like, yeah, it's really, really fun. And he goes, honestly, I don't even care if you make any money at this. This is the happiest I've ever seen you. And it gave me such a purpose. And he always says, I don't know how you would have pulled through if you hadn't done this. So for me, it was so much more than the number in the bank account. It gave me a purpose. It poured into myself, which I hadn't done in a really, really long time.
Yeah. And I think as moms, that is a common story. The postpartum, I even, I don't even know sometimes if you realize you're even going through it or realizing what it is, right? Because you have these children and all this emotion and the feelings. There's something to be said for having something for yourself, picking
Mhm.
yourself up, putting on a little lipstick, making yourself feel a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Good thing that you found this. And so you've earned many trips with the company. What is your most favorite memory of any of the trips that you've earned?
Oh man. So I would say my best memory, and it's kind of a small thing, like, the trips are incredible. There's the parties and the gifts and the making you feel so special and sitting one-on-one with Joni. But I earned my first like slew of trips during COVID and those trips didn't happen. And so when finally got to go on the first one, it was to Hawaii. And that was like such a bucket list trip. Oh gosh, I have goosebumps just telling this. That was such a bucket list trip for my husband and I. We hadn't like been away from our kids in years because we were locked in the house with them in COVID. And I just remember sitting in the airplane and looking over at him and having this moment. I actually started to cry. And I just remember being like, we wouldn't be able to afford this trip if we hadn't earned it. And I get to show him what I've been doing because I hadn't had that experience yet. And I just remember one day we were sitting in the pool and a bunch of the girls were, talking shop and brainstorming, and a bunch of the Sena hubbies were in the pool, and he was sitting there and I could see him like nodding along and like listening. And that night he was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know why I remember this. He talked to Mandy Harrison's husband, and he was like, and he was telling me about how Mandy does this and that, and he got it at that moment. And it was that moment where I was like, I brought him into my world, and I felt his pride for what I had accomplished. And I felt such a respect from him for what we were doing. That was really, really powerful. I just felt so proud that I earned that as a stay-at-home mom from Wisconsin who's super averagey, and I got to do that with him. So it was really a rewarding experience.
Love that. And speaking of experiences, this business now you've been in 6 years, and a lot of life has happened and been happening. And you had some pretty intense moments in your personal life this past 6, 8 months. And we were talking about this before we started recording. And how has the experience of not only being able to take care of your father during that ending time of his life, but having the flexibility of your SeneGence business to be able to do something like that, but how you were talking about the support of your SeneSisters through that time as well, and would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So it was just a year ago that my dad became ill. He actually had his first heart attack on Cyber Monday a year ago. I was at his house. I was there when it happened. And I thought so much through that time. He required a lot of care between Cyber Monday last year and then he passed on July 5th. During that time, it was me taking care of him. And I thought about how there's no way I could have done this. There's no way. I would have had to go on FMLA if I was like working at another job. Who knows if it would have been granted, how much time I would have got, would my job have been phased out? So I had that time allowance that I would have never had otherwise. And then when it became near that, like his passing was imminent, it was like fireworks in my DMs from other SeneSisters saying, "Hi, can I offer your team a week of content? Would they like to come in and join this mega party? Would they, can I go live and do a training for your team?" It was so much so I actually had to turn some people down because I was like, my team's going to get confused. This is too much. This is too much. And then it was constant stream of food at my door. It was people, girls on my team, SeneSisters, were going live in my customer page to show the products that were being released. All this, it was incredible. They truly, for the month before he was sick and the month that for June and July, they stepped in and ran the show for me, and they allowed me time to grieve. And it was a showing of support that you can't fake. We talk about this in a sisterhood all the time, and it sounds like a buzzword, but until you're in that state of crisis and these girls willingly scoop in and take your team and take your customers, it was that moment I was like, I wish everybody could see this. It's not fake. It is real, and I'm living it, and I survived because of it. And it's just yesterday I had gone a little silent because the holidays are hard, sliding into my first holiday without my dad. Tracy Zimmer messaged me, "You've been really quiet. Are you okay?" It was just, and that love is still there. That You don't find that anywhere else. That is here and here only. And it's something I couldn't live without. I could talk about this for forever. And you guys, I did it without crying.
It's fun. And that's very, very special. And I think you're right. Unless you have been in a company like this, experience something like this, it's really hard to explain this level of support. And that's a beautiful thing. And speaking of beautiful things, we have, can you believe it, our 25th anniversary here at SeneGence coming up in April. Unbelievable. Are you ready for April and Seminar 25?
I sure am. Seminar 20, I was pregnant with my daughter Lucy at the Gwen Stefani concert with my bump bouncing all over. So I am so excited. It's also like a really big moment for my team because the Make It Mine color is in my Dominion.
Oh,
So
exciting.
it's my first line, Mary Lee. We went to high school together. She's been like my ride or die in this business. She's been in SeneGence throughout the last 5 years, and she's the winner. So we get to see that too. It's just so many good things.
That is so fantastic. Well, we cannot wait to see you and the team at Seminar in April. And thank you for spending time with us today and for being an inspiration to so many people, Elyse. We appreciate you.
Of course.
We can't wait to celebrate you at Seminar in April.
I can't wait to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.